Yes, so I'm going to talk about the personal AI network we're building at PIN.AI. And then the subtitle is Engineering Growth for Humans with AIs. So like, just an explanation on this, as it was touched upon by Ilya and Vitalik in the kickoff call. Like, we believe that in order to keep humans at the center of the AI revolution and the world that is coming, it's not just going to happen. We cannot just like YOLO this AI system. We need to engineer a system where like humans are kept in control. And this is kind of one of the main principles that we have designing this network. Next slide. Yeah. So this slide I actually presented exactly 1 year ago at the previous version of the Open Source AI Summit. It's quite crazy. Like, my talk back then was called the Internet of Agents. It's pretty crazy to see like what has happened like in this past year in the blockchain world, like people launching all sorts of agents, quote agents, but not really using the blockchains for the properties that is useful for. And I think we are kind of like, as the dust settles, 1 year later, we are here talking about still like how we can build systems that actually leverage these properties and the progress we have made. So here, essentially, what I was highlighting is essentially that blockchains have a set of properties, and then the agentic AI needs some properties as well as safety, alignment, control and privacy, and ownership and fairness. And actually, like, you can map the blockchain properties to actually give you the properties on the right, like several of them. But in particular, I think what you get if you build like AI system with blockchain in the backend is like these three important properties, right? You get privacy without needing to trust a big tech entity or government. You get provable autonomy without needing to trust the developer of the service or the manufacturer. And then you get real alignment to user and community instead of maybe like just the owner of this AI system like Meta or OpenAI, kind of like just exploiting the user, similar to what like these platforms are doing today. And next slide. Yeah. So what I want to show is that we need to build a new type of protocols, and we need to start thinking about blockchain protocols in a different way as AI augmented protocols. And I want to start here, like from kind of blockchain prehistory. So this is not like a new idea. This idea has kind of been around, like if you read between the lines, forever. So this is like one of Nick Szabo writings. This is actually from 1997, like 30 years ago. It's called the God protocols. So Nick Szabo, for the ones who don't know, is kind of the inventor of smart contracts, potentially also the inventor of blockchains. Who knows? But essentially, like in this early post, like what he was doing is he was trying to like envision what the ideal protocol can look like. And next slide, yeah. So his vision is not too different from what then became Ethereum. It's kind of a virtual computer in the cloud where you don't need trust in any third parties. And already in this original post, he poses 3 limitations. He highlights that this virtual computer has 3 big limitations. So the first one is that it's very slow because of like state-machine replication. It doesn't really scale. And we solved this with the rollups, with different designs, or almost solved it. The second problem is this trade-off between like privacy and fault tolerance. We also have a solution to this, like with all the ZK tech and the ZK rollups that are coming up on Ethereum and ZK-based protocols. The third problem is a very big one, which essentially is the problem of expressivity. So if you want like to instantiate such a protocol like Ethereum today, you can only do what is explicitly specified in the code for the smart contracts, so the algorithm and the inputs, right? And every time you need like some more expressive input that cannot really written in machine code, then essentially like this trustless property disappear. So in order to actually solve this third limitation, we haven't done it yet, but what I'm going to claim is that we need this AI augmented protocol, right? Like the AI gives you the expressivity, and then you still need like the protocol to kind of like constrain what it can do. Yeah, so we need to walk into that world, and we are walking into that world with the system we are building at PIN.AI. But there is also many risks, right? And like Vitalik talks about this a lot. When you try to embed an AI in the protocol, like potentially you don't want to enshrine a single AI. Why? Because like there is a lot of problems that if you use AI as infrastructure can actually kill your protocol, right? So one is like model bias, the attack surface of LLMs. If you compare to the attack surface of a smart contract, is much wider, right? The complexity of these neural networks is much wider. And then there is the reliability issues, right? So how do you mitigate that? How do you get the expressivity, the things you want from AI to like kind of bring us like closer to a world where like blockchain is like widely adopted, but with mitigating the risks? So the first one is like to focus on like narrow use cases, and then you have a multitude of specialized agents, and potentially you need to verify everything about them when you use them as infrastructure, not when you use them as kind of players in your protocol. And then like you want to simplify the core protocol mechanism as much as possible. And then like the third is kind of what also Vitalik is talking about in his latest post, which is you want to kind of incentivize different AI and use them as players in the game, meaning that you only care about their output. You don't really care about the output was produced, and they cannot do anything bad because the protocol keeps them honest. Yeah, so I'll kind of like walk my talk, and I'll give you like the example of like what specific problem we are trying to tackle with this personal AI network we are building at PIN.AI. So the problem is like specific, but it's kind of like still a large problem if you look at the way today like online services are used. So essentially, like what we are going after is like a better way to architect this AI-mediated commerce that is coming our way, right? So the key problem there is human alignment, right? If you think about what is happening on like online platform, like you can think ranking on social media, recommendation on commerce and ads platform. Like these are all systems that, in theory, they should be public infrastructure, right? They are operated by large companies with AI systems that, to a large extent, or like almost entirely, respond to the goal and the objective of the company that is running them, not the user that is using them. And we kind of want to break this paradigm because we think that like with the advent of like AI-mediated service, the power and the centralization in these companies becomes even larger. And so how do we want to do that? We want to kind of go user side, right? Like, so we want AI services that like understand user preferences, and then we want to architect services that they cannot exploit information from the user without giving the value back, so that essentially the user retains most of the value that it generates by like allowing different applications to use their data. Yeah, so how do we do that? Essentially, there is like two components. One is like user-owned personal AI that it's kind of like your firewall, as was mentioned before. It runs locally or in a private cloud. And then there is two ingredients to this. One is like a huge personal data context. And the second one is like actually some incentive mechanisms for this personal AI to like grow and become more capable over time and grow with the user. And then the second aspect is that with the personal AI, essentially like the specialization is not too much in like delivering service. It's on like handling user data and really learning the user preferences, and then summoning services on their behalf, right? So the second aspect is this network of external AI services that like other people are building right now and connecting to PIN.AI. Yeah, so this is a depiction of how it works. So we build a personal index for each user on PIN.AI, and we have this personal data protocol where we allow people to connect their Web2 services and start downloading their personal data. And then we have the personal AI model, which this data is fed as context to. And then we have an on-chain registry where people can register different AI services, and they have. I'll give some example, which your personal AI can go and essentially procure services on your behalf. Yeah. So one way to think about what we're building is you have OpenAI, Perplexity, DeepSeek. They are really they're competing to build the best answer machine, right? So they want a machine that you feed it a question and gives you the best answer. At PIN.AI, we are trying to build a user-owned companion that it's the best question machine, right? So when you have a question today, you just send it to one of these systems, but oftentimes you don't have too much context. So we want to build a personal assistant that is able to get the most out of the services that people are building in the open. And then if you walk on the other side, same thing to what is happening now with this agentic revolution. People are trying to build the best action machine. So with PIN.AI, we want to build the best intent machine. So as a human, you may have some intent, you may be hungry. So instead of going to the trouble of going on some food app, coordinating with your friends on what everybody wants, we essentially want the personal AI that has full access to your data to essentially you just say, I'm hungry, and then it figures out everything your food preferences, restrictions, et cetera, and it essentially procures the best service on your behalf. Yeah, so I'll say more on behind the scenes, the type of protocol we are building. This is we are not just giving user these small models that they can download, they can become their own AI. We're also using AI into the core protocol in order to make sure that the whole network of personal AIs grows in a direction that is aligned with the users and the community. So we use AI into the protocol in two places today. So we have this human assessment test. So essentially, it's an augmented proof of humanity, where you have a bunch of inputs, including potentially some world ID, passport, other type of on-chain verifications, but also you have all the data traces that we get from user contextual data. And then you have this model that is essentially programmed to spit out a likelihood assessment of what a human is. We use this for Sybil resistance, farming resistance, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other one, which is perhaps most interesting and one of the innovations we have, is this God model, right? We call guardian of data. So this is essentially a new concept of using an AI as essentially evaluating and teaching the personal AI which data, which capabilities they should acquire and in which direction to grow. And then next slide. Yeah, so I'll kind of give a sketch view of how this works, right? So we have this God model, which is a bigger LLM in a TE. And essentially, this interacts with all the personal AIs and their contextual data on the user side. Next slide. So each epoch in our protocol, what this God model does, it submits a test to each of the personal AI on the network to assess essentially what is their level of contextual knowledge, and in the future also what is their level of capabilities to achieve some agentic task. Next slide. Yeah, and then essentially, like, at the end of the epoch, there is essentially like some grading, which then gets pushed to like the personal AI as feedback on how can they improve, right? And like right now, we have like a few categories, and over time, these categories will expand, and like part of this protocol are also open source for people to contribute, similarly to the data protocol that I talked about before. Yeah, so how does it work? So today, this kind of like curriculum-based learning for personal AI is kind of generated by a team, like a committee of experts. And then in the V0, we are testing like the contextual data that your personal AI has and their capabilities. And then in the V1, we are actually simulating requirements to accomplish real-world tasks, like calling APIs, completing intents to like submit to like different agents that are connected to the protocol, etc. So the constraint here is, as I was saying before, like the evaluation needs to be a simple and verifiable rule, and that's what it is today. But over time, we can evolve this into some more advanced assessment, and then we can connect some automated feedback as like your personal AI starts doing work for you and like generating like some concrete outputs. And then we're also doing some research on how to turn this into like this dynamic reinforcement learning system that trains personal AIs on new skills. And next slide, yeah. So I want to zoom out and actually like give a view of like the way we're approaching. Like this is a new type of protocol, right? It's almost similar to like rollups 4 years ago, where we didn't have any rollups. Like the first thing we need to do is like actually a proof of concept that like rollup construction can work, right? And those are the stage 0 rollups. And for us, it's like the stage 0 of our protocol, which is where we are today, right? So like essentially like AI is, in this case, is a bicycle with like a lot of human inputs to make sure that is aligned to their preference. We have this committee of experts. But then over time, we can kind of like decentralize this so that we don't have like this enshrined single AI in the protocol. And like what we can do is like submit like human preferences, but then like instead of like one AI, we have like different AI competing to like generate evaluations that are in line with our jury or committee of experts. And then this is like similar to essentially like auto steering or cruise control, like if you want. I like to do a lot of this like comparison with like autonomous vehicles because I think the approach in like developing AI should be the same, right? Like security should be like a thought that is kind of always there, and we don't just like build a new self-driving system and we deploy it. Like it takes years, like and various cycles to like improve it. So this is the same thing. And then finally, we can get to kind of like the end game of this type of AI augmented protocol is like essentially like human just instantiate goals, and like these goals can be like okay, in the case of like deep funding is maybe like some 100 bits of information, but I think we can over time as these systems automate, we can like decrease the requirement to essentially just a few bits, right? So if you think that as a personal AI network, you want to generate like the most transactions and the most value for users, all this data is measurable. So like as a governance layer, you just need to set the metric that you want to track, like revenues related to users, for example, and then the system just optimizes for that. Yeah, so now more concretely, like what we're doing with PIN.AI, we are beta testing like our PIN.AI app. So this is a data wallet on the phone. It has like this connection to like this God model evaluation, and it also has a small LLM. Like this is a fine-tuned open source LLM on the user side, which becomes your personal AI. And then we also have the testnet of our protocol out. So the data wallet is powered by a TE network of data connectors with on-chain verification. The God node is also in a TE node, which is like attested on-chain. And then we have an agent service registry. So we have an integration with a few agents that were launched. Like there were not too many useful agents that were launched on Ethereum in the past like year or so. But like there is a few ones like PIN.AI doing like food delivery, or Sekai doing like storytelling. We already integrated with those and we'll be announcing in the coming days. So essentially, like these are all services that are registered in our protocol and can be directly accessed from your personal AI in your app. And then like stuff we're working on is like a data wallet that goes beyond your phone. So like with E2EE for data security. We are also working on a version of personal AI that it's on the cloud. It's on a private cloud like that runs in ETE. And then we also designed this intent matching and agent interaction for when essentially we have like more agents and we kind of need to break ties between them. So there is a lot of research going on and also a lot of development. If you guys are interested in this, I'd be very happy to like chat more and like also chat about how you can contribute. Sure. Yeah, we have time for some questions.
Any questions?
Sorry, you mentioned that you'll have some economic incentives. So you mentioned that you'll have some economic incentives to align the AI. Can you talk a bit more about like what incentives you imagine?
Yeah, so in the short term, essentially what we're interested in is that like people in the network start feeding the personal AI like contextual data. I think this is important because like there is several layers of network effects. So like there is kind of network effects as you have like more demand, like coming from this personal AI to these services, then more people want to build on us. But there is also like second layer of network effects, which is like as you have like more powerful personal AIs, then like your personal AI can start talking to mine and kind of coordinate on like shared goals that we want to attain. So this is kind of like the way we are going is first we want to incentivize people to connect more data so that the personal AI becomes more capable, and second to essentially start evolving. Like the personal AI will start kind of learning. We have this like curriculum-based learning. We start learning from the God model, and the incentive is actually the reward feedback to the personal AI. Any other question?
Is that mobile app available, and how do you get to experiment with it?
Yeah, so we are beta testing. I think right now we have like 500 or 1,000 early users. We are kind of scaling up every week. I think by the end of the month we should like release it to the public. But yeah, you can check out PIN.AI.io, and there should be some link to get in the app.